Hey, this ain't a drill. Only time I'm playing is on the field. And when I'm on the field, no, I got mad skills. And you know we about to eat this a fast meal. Y'all gotta pay for this heat like a gas bill. We keep on coming back, so yeah, they mad still. Everyone sick, make them pay me some bad bills. Red, white, and blue like Superman, so you know we eating at the Super Bowl. Kill the competition, set up the funeral. Josh Allen catching all the shots you go for. We callin' blitz. Ready to start, we ain't calling no quits. I'm the #1 draft pick. A lot of y'all talk, but I ain't hearing it. Only listen to Shawn McDermott. Talk about the Bills dominating on the field. All our players got them skills. Buffalo gon' make a kill when we talk about the Bills. Dominating on the field, and our players got them skills. Buffalo gon' make a kill.
What's going on? Welcome back to another live episode of the Post Podium Podcast.
Hey, this ain't a drill. Only time I'm playing is
how the song thought it was time to just start over again. Okay, thank you, StreamYard. Listen, let's just get right to it. I don't think I'm going to be joined by my co-host tonight. He's got something going on, and Mac is usually busy Tuesdays, so you got me. But we can hang out. I got about a good hour and a half before I got to get back to the family. So let's empty a little bit more out, right? I kind of want to start the conversation with the title of this episode, which is "Grief is the Enemy of Problem Solvers." Okay, now that's not to say that grief itself or the process of grieving is bad, but when you think about how a problem solver thinks, what you really want to start thinking about is what's the end goal of this grieving process? Like what is the conclusion we're going to come to when it comes to how we're going to get the Bills over the hump, how we're going to get this coach to accept the things that he needs to accept so that we can get to a point where we don't have to worry about this stuff anymore, right? So I think the idea is instead of taking this time after this kind of loss and this process of, Max said it yesterday, there's a lot of people that are walking around sad, and there's a lot of, gloominess about, right? And I think usually people get caught in those situations, and I kind of found myself drifting into that a little bit, Sunday night into Monday. But I think the idea is this: it's a process that happens faster when you work on solving the problem, right? When you're focused on a solution, when you're looking at the options, when you're weighing what your ability is to affect the situation, and you're calculating all the different things that you have to do, all of a sudden that grief just starts to happen naturally without you having to go through a long drawn out process, right? So here's the point of me saying all this, because I've gotten real philosophical to this point. The Buffalo Bills are at a junction, or at a juncture in their build, where fans have to really decide what they want going forward, right? And as much as the media, or as much as the team itself likes to make us think that we really don't have the power that we have, we are the ones that need to take ownership of that. We are the ones that need to understand what it means to support a team, right? The stadium and the money for the stadium would mean nothing if everybody went to Kathy Hochul and said, no, we're not paying for the stadium, make the owner pay for it, right? That's the kind of power that we have, but we've kind of ignored that. We've kind of chosen, in a sense, choosing by not making a decision at all, either way, really. We've made a choice to let things happen and see what happens. And to a degree, I get that. It's sports. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be entertaining, all of that, right? But here's the real side of sports. We're paying money for this team, okay? My mom, God bless her soul, we went to the Bills Chiefs game in week 11 this season, right? One of the greatest experiences of my life. $470 a ticket, okay? We sat in the box. We got the ticket commemorated. All right. Now, I don't know how much this cost. It was a gift from my mom, right? But the point in all this is all of this money that we've spent that goes towards paying these staff salaries, these player salaries, all of these things are supposed to be designed to give us a return on investment. That's just good business, right? So when we're thinking about our perspective of the Bills, here's what I think happened. I think that the Bills have done such a great job of getting fans to connect emotionally with the team. They've played on our lifestyle. They've played on our philosophy in this city. They've preyed on our downturn. Before this new real estate and artistic and technological era, or I'm sorry, the kind of medical boom that the city is going through right now. I truly believe that all of that was a strategy to get the Bills fans to connect emotionally. Now, what happens when you connect emotionally? This is now tied into a lot of the things that I learned about marketing. What happens when you get a customer to connect with your product emotionally? They are what's the stat? They are, I know it's over 60%, but I don't remember the exact number, so forgive me. But they are 60% more likely to buy from you when they connect with your product emotionally. Okay, so it's better than 50-50, and I think for any business that's great. You know what I'm saying? The likelihood that you're going to buy my product is better than 50-50. I think any business would take that. But here's the deal. If I was to sell everybody a product and that product doesn't perform the way that other products perform, the expectation in real life, the expectation in real life is that those customers are going to go somewhere else to get the product that works, that gives them the best return on their investment. Like that. Thank you, Thomas. Business management 101. That's it. What's going on, Laura? Mr. Inman, I'll get to your comment in a second. Give me 1 second, because I do want to make this episode about you guys. I want this to be very, viewer focused. I only have like 4 things I want to comment on, and that's it. So I promise I'll be quick with this. But understanding how all of that works, I think that's what gets me to the point where I am now offended at what the Buffalo Bills have done over the drought and what the Buffalo Bills have done with all of these seasons of having I'm going to say it, the greatest quarterback in the NFL, bar none. He's the biggest. He's got the best arm. And I'm sorry, there's no other quarterback with that size, speed, and athleticism that can play from the pocket like he can. So for me, thank you, Thomas. For me, I think understanding what I understand about business and seeing how all this stuff works, behind the scenes, and seeing all of the commercials and all of the radio commercials and all of the slogans in the stadium and all and the news snippets that they put out on the radio and the media stuff that they put out on Channel 7 and Channel 4 and all these other news stations that cover the Bills, all these different shows that cover the Bills, the media stuff that the Bills put out on their websites. All of this stuff is specifically designed with the mindset that you are going to connect with this team emotionally. That's the bottom line of it. So again, back to my point, the reason I get offended at that is because I'm expecting a better result. And when I don't get a better result, I'm going to go back and look at what the promise was. Right? When Shawn McDermott got here and Pagula bought the team, they specifically said that the mindset is to be competitive and to be and to win a championship. Right? Now, they emphasized more so winning, the consistent winning, but the idea of winning at the end of the day for any team in the NFL is what? Winning a championship, right? So that is the measurement that every single team in the NFL goes by. And if that's the measurement that every single team in the NFL goes by, well, then anything that's not that is a failure. Now, it could be an immense failure where you've gone 6-10 and didn't even make the playoffs, and your offense looks terrible and your defense can't stop anybody. That's an immense failure. Or there's a slight failure where you make it to the AFC Championship game and you don't beat the two-time champs. Either way, it's still a failure. We talked about it in the episode yesterday, passing the LSAT. It really is pass or fail for these teams. And the way that they get around it with fans is convincing you that we're making progress. We're making progress, right? How I think that conflicts with what the Bills have put on tape is that you've watched the little yodeling dude on The Price is Right go up the hill, right? Then we watched them get to the top of the hill where teams are expecting us to win a Super Bowl, and then you watch the dude fall off, right? And then the lady or the guy on The Price is Right that made the mistake and caused the guy to go over the hill. Now they got to go sit down, right? So now they bring up another contestant, right? And that contestant gets to carry on the game, put the guy right back on the hill, and start guessing again, right? And I don't think that is a terrible approach, but it is a how can I say this? You know what? I'll go to this example, and I think some of you may have heard it by now, right? Marvin Lewis. We've heard about Marvin Lewis or not. I don't know. But Marvin Lewis was with the Bengals for 16 years. 16 years. Never won a playoff game. He's 0-7. His total record is 131 and 122. So it's a winning record, right? He won a lot of regular season games, right? He went 8-8, 8-8, 11-5, 8-8, 7-9, 4-11. Then he goes 10-6, 4-12. Now here are the good years: 9-7, 10-6, 11-5, 10-5, 12-4. That was 2012 through 2015, right? Now, this was 12 years. 13 years. 13 years into his tenure there. Because the next 3 years after that, he goes 6-9, 7-9, 6-10. Then he gets fired. Now, the 8-8, 8-8, 11-5, 8-8 years were the first 4 years of his career. So people are looking at this team like, man, 2005, we made the playoffs. 2 years after the head coach gets the job, man, we might be on to something. Next season, he goes 8-8. All right, listen, if all he does is go 500, we still got a shot every year, right? Then he goes 7-9, 4-11. People start to doubt him a little bit. I remember specifically the owner coming out with something, in support of Marvin Lewis, saying, "I still believe in him. I still think he can get the job done." Blah 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 blah. And in 2009, what does he do? He goes 10-6. Builds a little bit more hope, right? Well, after that, the following season, he goes 4-12 in 2010. But then after that season, after that 4-12 season, he gets the Red Rifle. The Red Rifle comes in. They go 9-7, 10-6, 11-5, 10-5, 12-4. So I'm using this example, right? Because Shawn McDermott's current record is he's got a 656 win percentage right now. He's 86-45. He's got 7 playoff wins and 7 playoff losses. Look, when we're talking about pass fail and we're talking about the goal, we've watched the head coach fail 7 times. Now, I'm not sitting here saying at all, and I know that a little bit of this is a rehash of yesterday, but I just want to be clear about my specific stance because it is a very specific stance. My position is not one where I'm saying Shawn will never win a championship, and I wouldn't even go as far as to say that I don't think Shawn would win a championship here or somewhere else, right? But what I do think needs to happen, and this is where the grief is the enemy of problem solvers comes in, where I do think a solution exists, is Shawn needs heavier oversight, and he needs heavier oversight by a real GM. A real GM who understands real talent that wins games, who's willing to tell Shawn no, and is willing to correct Shawn. Nobody in life should be trying to operate out in the world without some kind of oversight. Somebody that can tell them no, somebody that can guide them, somebody that can tell them when they've gone too far. We all need that somebody, whether it's a parent, a mentor, or a teacher, or whatever, right? And we've watched Shawn now for 7 years go through this process of trying to figure it out on his own, because there's nobody above him that's telling him whether he's wrong or right. He may have somebody like that personally, but in this space, in the NFL space, you need somebody like that professionally too, right? Now, to my knowledge, I know he has friends that he talks to regularly in the NFL. Mike Tomlin is one of them, but when you're talking to a friend, that's not a position for you to be corrected in. That's not a position for you to be told, you got to stop treating those players like that. You got to stop expecting these small guys to come in here and play big. Like, there's nobody in this space where Shawn is to tell him no. And that's a problem, right? So there's a vacuum. And we're seeing Shawn try to wade his way through the water and find his way to land. And meanwhile, we're all spending our hard-earned dollars buying paraphernalia, doing all this stuff for a team that we love, not a coach, for a team that we love that is led by a guy that has no oversight. Excuse me. How in the world can a successful business continue to operate when the CEO doesn't have a board to check them? I'll wait. I've never heard of a Fortune 500 company operate with a CEO with no board to check them. Those levels exist for a reason. They exist so that the best possible outcome is the expected outcome. And if it's not reached, they have checks and balances to make sure that it either gets there or that the people who are in the way of that are getting out of there. Right? So I'll leave it there. I want to get to some of your comments. Let me see where we go. So let's start with Mr. Intamin. What's going on, my man? I don't think we've seen you in here before, but welcome to the show. You are now part of the family, my man, whether you like it or not. So pull up a seat, grab a plate, and I'll be right here with you. He says, bruh, I'll be the only Bills fan okay, I'm sorry. I'll be the only Bills fan or football fan to say Chiefs deserve a little love. Like, damn, they're going back to back to back. That's never been done. BS haters. Yeah, look, here's the other thing I want to make clear. Like, I love what the Chiefs are doing. I love it. It's what I wish my Bills would do. They're innovative. They're creative. Their process is anticipatory and not reactive. Most companies, especially ones that I've worked for, they live on the reactive. They don't dare live on the anticipatory. They don't try to plan ahead. They don't even try to work on foresight. To them, until something actually happens, there's nothing to react to. But Andy Reid is like, F that. You know what I'm saying? Let's understand something. Andy Reid right now is Master Splinter. Ninja Turtle reference. He's Master Splinter. Shawn McDermott is, if I had to put him on a turtle, I'd say he'd be Donatello. Right? Definitely the most underrated one. Good. He was a good one. But definitely underrated. But definitely not a great leader. And that's not me saying that Shawn McDermott can't lead men, but he can't lead all pro players. He's only had one. He's only had one first team all pro. Correction, he's had a total of 5 over his career that I can think of. He's had Matt Milano, Trey White, I think either Micah Hyde or Jordan Poyer made one, and then Josh Allen. And I might be forgetting one. But those are rare commodities to find guys of that caliber, of that character, that can also ball. If it wasn't, we'd have a team full of them, right? That's just the process of elimination. If those guys were plentiful, we'd have a whole team full of them, full of Josh Allens. We'd have a whole team full of them, but we don't. We only got one right now. We got 2 Pro Bowlers, no All Pros, no first team All Pros, none. Mr. Edelman says Bills will be fine. This was our rebuild year. Oh, I really wish you hadn't said that. I have a point that I wanted to make. And part of the reason I brought up the Marvin Lewis thing, when you say this was our rebuilding year, it's not our first one. It's not the first one. Okay? The flaw of thinking that we should just give Shawn another year is that when does it stop? When is it a good time to fire the coach? Does he have to go 2 years without making the playoffs? Is it 4? Does he have to go 6 more years of making the playoffs but not winning a Super Bowl? I mean, we just saw Marvin Lewis had 5 seasons where he clearly made the playoffs. Some of those seasons he probably backed into it at 9-7 or 8-8, whatever. But when is the good time to fire a coach? That's the fundamental flaw with that thought process. If you're going to continue to give your coach year after year after year after year, how many years do you give them? Or for those people who, like we heard yesterday, I mean, I love my guys, but to say that, we can just continue to give chances. We can continue to give chances just at will. Just give them another year. Like, okay, forever? So we just gonna let Shawn be the head coach forever? Who's signing up for that? Who's signing up for forever Shawn? Not me. Not me. I couldn't care less if we made the AFC Championship the next 5 years. Until we win a Super Bowl. Until we win I gotta get to these comments, man. Y'all funny. Until we win a Super Bowl, it's a fail. It's a fail. And that ain't even my point. That's y'all point. Like, it's pass or fail. Ain't no in between. It's black or it's white. Like, that's real life, though. When you really think about it, that is real life. You either get the girl or you don't. You either marry her or you don't. Ain't no in between. There's no in between. Dating forever? Y'all living married. Y'all live in married. You just ain't got the title, but you live in married. If you just gonna not put a ring on her and stay with her, forever, like you're trying to have your cake and eat it too at that point. It's ridiculous. But enough about marriage. The point is, you have to decide. We as fans, we have to decide. We can't just leave it at the hands of the people that we think know better, because they don't. Not here. What has Pagula done with the Sabres? They don't know what's going on over there. Why do you think he even allowed Tracy McGrady, Vince Carter, and Key? You're gonna have to help me out with the soccer player's name. I always forget it, but every time you say it, I'm like, oh yeah. But why do you think that even came into be? He don't know what the right move is. He had to bring some actual athletes in here to look at this thing and say, yo, am I tripping? Is this wrong? Is this right? I don't know. And Pagula's doing this because in his mind, he wasn't even supposed to be the one running the show. It was supposed to be his wife. So if the owner don't even know, why are we expecting the coach to know? There's no checks and balances. There ain't nobody to tell him no. Brandon Beane ain't that. Brandon Beane is a quasi GM. He ain't a real GM. He picks players. He scouts. He sends the card in. He sits in the room. But he's got to share decisions with Shawn McDermott. Like, I don't know of too many other teams that operate that way. Not anymore. Think about all the teams that have gotten away from that. Even Andy Reid has Veach. Think about that for a second. When Shawn got hired, they gave him autonomy. The owner said it was Shawn's show. They gave him autonomy. Who was the most prominent coach at that time that had that? Bill Belichick. That's who Pagula wanted to be like. Pagula looked at that team. He said, that's what I want to be like. What have they done the last 6-7 years? What have they done? Lost to us. So why are we still trying to operate like we them? And furthermore, if we're going to be analytical about it, what has that gotten us? Because it didn't get us what they got. We ain't out here deflating no balls. We ain't out here creating tuck rules. We don't have that kind of ingenuity. We don't have that kind of guile. Right? So all right. I digress. Okay. Let me see here. Sal says it's a business. Always will be. Business doesn't care about anything but green. That part. Senke says, excuse me, with that, I can't support another Bills team coached by Shawn. It's very displeasing how they paint Mahomes, but Allen has been better, so I'm boycotting until then. Respect. Yeah, the dude on the mountain from the Prices Right. I know I'm late on these comments. I'm catching up, I promise. Senke says, legit have Allen play pointless football. I don't want his talent to be wasted. He's too great. Exactly. Nico, what's going on? He says, what up, bro? I'm all the way. I'm with all the way from what you said yesterday. I don't know if you read my comment about how Kobe and Shaq hated each other and still won 3 chips. So all this love in the locker room maybe yeah. and I think I respond. I usually respond to everybody, within 24 hours. But if I didn't, I apologize. But I do remember reading that comment. So yeah. And I mean, that's just another example. Like your two best players hated each other after a while. They was cool at the beginning, but after a while, it was like, yo, give me the ball. No, give me the ball. Like Shaq was like, yo, I'm the dude. I've been the dude way before you. And Kobe was like, yo, not on this team. They still won 3 together. Right? But Here's the kicker. You talk about Kobe and Shaq. Who did Kobe and Shaq have as a coach? The greatest head coach in NBA history. This is why I pointed out the synergy yesterday with the Chiefs. This is why I made such a big deal and screamed about what Mahomes has that Josh doesn't. It makes such a big difference. And everybody who knows anything about football is watching that game that just happened on Sunday, and they're saying, this is a coaching disparity. It's not a player disparity. There's no creativity coming from that coach room. None. Right? We've already established Joe Brady is that dude as an offensive coordinator. One of the reasons he's not getting tossed out there like Ben Johnson and Bobby Slowick were, or some of these other guys, these other offensive guys that are out there. The only reason that's not happening is because this ain't his offense. The people who are in the know that this ain't his offense. Go back and look at LSU, national championship team. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, them boys. That's his offense. And if he was allowed to do that in the NFL, he'd be Bobby Johnson. He'd be Ben Johnson by now. Easy. He'd be Ben Johnson by now. Right? Okay. I see that now. So Nico said maybe locker room maybe needs some hate. Yeah, probably. Billy D says bring in Gruden. Nah. He as an offensive mind, I get what you're saying. And I do respect it. You know, he's had success everywhere he's been. However, I don't know if you've seen the news on him, you know, the last time he had a coaching job, but it wasn't pretty. So no, thank you. Thomas says we definitely need better scouting. Well, we would have to know the difference between the scouting and the choices in order to affirm, or I would say confirm that statement. Because my initial reaction is yeah, absolutely. Based on the players that we have, we need to scout better because we need better players, right? But we don't know if these scouts are going out here and saying, "Yo, Brian Arakpo is dope," and the coach is saying, "Nah, I'd rather have Aaron Maben though." Sorry, Key. Sorry. Sal says Pagula not making any moves until after new stadium opens. John Gruden will be gone by then. Probably. Yeah. So that was one of the other reasons why I was pounding the table, excuse me, this past offseason for that, because from a business perspective, and you guys can tell me if you disagree with this or not, from a business perspective, I think it's very appealing if you fired Shawn before this season, give the new head coach a year to kind of get, flush out what he needs to flush out, get in what he needs to get in. You go into year 2 now with the expectation of, okay, now we're going for it, right? Now we're going to really compete. Now we're really, trying to win games. This is not, a transition period. This is not, us trying to, build this thing, right? So I would say after that, you've got 2 years of expectation and anticipation, right? So now you take that into year 3, which would be 2026, which is the opening of the new stadium. You've now drafted all the players that you needed to draft in the last 2 years. You filled all the positions you needed to fill. Now it's time. Let's go get this ring. Like who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't be excited at that? Who wouldn't see the trajectory? Who wouldn't see the build happening? Who wouldn't feel the orgasm building up? Like who would get to that point and be like, new stadium, 3rd year of a team build. We still got Josh Allen. We got these new coordinators and this new scheme that's been looking good the last couple of seasons. Nah, I'll wait. It's not happening. It's not happening. Laura says, is that the turtle always want a pizza? No, that was Michelangelo. I was huge on Ninja Turtles. That was Michelangelo. Donatello was the techie. He was the one that was always making the gadgets and stuff like that, the smart guy. Thomas says, do you think the business and entertainment side of the game has influenced some of the outcomes of the sport? 100%. I actually am willing to contend that a big reason why we don't have the technology that we know can solve a lot of these referee problems exists because of the money that's made from TV shows talking about ref calls, radio shows talking about ref calls. The more people there are talking about any particular brand or product, the more successful that brand becomes. That's why when you listen to the radio and you hear a song for the first time, you hate it. You hate it. Like, very rarely do we like a song that we hear for the first time. The ear is okay. So now we're getting to my audio engineering stuff. So the ear is designed to recognize sounds that aren't familiar and go into alert. It's a survival response, right? So we could be listening to all the greatest hits on the radio, and all of a sudden a new song comes on. They don't even tell you who it is. They just play it, right? And you're like, what is that? Well, that's a very dulled down version of that survival response. You're hearing something you've never heard before, and it's sending off an alert, right? Now, that alert triggers within the mind, or it's designed to trigger in the mind the fear or flight response, which is why it's always so kind of off-putting, and it takes you time to kind of get used to it and absorb it and all that, because you're in that state of mind subconsciously, right? So all of that is to say, when you eventually listen to the song enough times, when the radio plays it enough times again and again and again and again, and you start feeling like, man, I keep hearing the song all the time. Well, now you walk into the house after you just turned the car off and you humming the tune. You humming the hook. The hook stuck with you. Like, that's a scientific design. That's the music industry. That's how they do it. That's how the body is designed to respond to things that we consume over and over again. We just get used to it and accept it. That's why this Shawn McDermott stuff is such a problem, because people don't realize that all of this stuff is by design. That's the problem. You don't realize you were manipulated. You don't realize that you were sold to. You don't even realize that you were programmed. That's what SEO is. I'm sorry, SEO. That's not what SEO is. That's what neuro-linguistic programming is. Neuro-linguistic programming is built into marketing. That's marketing 101. It's built in. Everything that you read, from descriptions of t-shirts to, movie narratives and all that kind of, it's all designed word by word. Like this, that's how deep they get with the science of this stuff. It's all designed to create a picture in your mind that you can connect with, that you're familiar with, that you can relate to. And once they get you in that point of relating, you're open to connection. It's a subconscious process. You don't even realize it's happening when it happens. That's how deep this stuff goes with the Buffalo Bills. Like, they have a marketing department. What you think what these players get up and say at the podium is authentic? You think what the head coach gets up and says at the podium is authentic? They go through meetings all the time with the marketing advertisement team, and they discuss what the narrative of the season will be. They have to. It's a business. Joe Sanders, what's going on, man? I listen. I appreciated the shout out. And just to say it here live, I do want to get you on the show. I appreciate strongly the impact, you know, that you were saying that we've had. And I want to help you out, man. You know what I'm saying? I can give you all the pointers as far as what gear you need and you know, the cheapest stuff all the way up to the most expensive. However you want to start out, it's super easy. Super easy. So if you wanna hit me up on, I don't know if you're on Twitter or what, Facebook, whatever social media you're on, you can search us up and DM me, and then you know, we'll connect somehow, whether it's virtually or phone or whatever, and we'll wrap. All right. Joe says they emphasize Josh McD and the culture which captivates the casual fans being in playoffs. I want more. A definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. The Chiefs games are on repeat 4 times already. 4 times. 4 times. Which brings me to another point that I wanted to get out really quick. I saw in a video today this idea that Josh is now 0-4 against Patrick Mahomes. And that it bothered me, you know, but I had to think about it. I had to kind of meditate on it a little bit and really figure out why it bothered me so much. Like, what is it about this match? It's not the fact that we lost to Patrick Mahomes, but then I settled on this thought. It has never been Josh versus Mahomes. What marketing did and what advertisement did is they took the 2 most prominent products and they put them head to head. That's what they did. That's what media did. That's what marketing did. That's how they get your interest. So even on these media shows where they're talking about the head to head matchups and stuff like that, like, nobody in sports who's a pro athlete thinks like that. No, like, Josh ain't thinking it's me versus Mahomes. Josh is thinking it's me versus Spags. If anything, that's what we're talking about right now. Like, the comparison bothers me so much because that's the foundation of what everybody starts to believe about Josh. Oh, you can't beat Mahomes. No. That's not even the real problem with the Bills. This game might be up to a little too high. It kind of feels like it is. That's not even the real problem with the Buffalo Bills. The real problem with the Buffalo Bills is they've been hiding the failures of the defense. It gets overblown. It gets rolled over. It gets forgotten every time that we say, and we've heard it a lot in the last couple of days, the Buffalo Bills under Shawn McDermott are 0-4 on the road in the playoffs. They give up 33 points a game. Average. 33. This season at home, I think the Bills average. I'm sorry, no, in the playoffs, rather, it's like 17 points that the Bills give up at home in the playoffs. 17 points. Against one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, we gave up 24 points. That's acceptable. It was freaking Lamar Jackson. Okay, fine. As long as we win. But once you get to the realization that, man, Shawn ain't really doing what his job is designed to do in the playoffs. Josh has always done his job. Josh's numbers, if you took the faces off of the stats in the playoffs and you mesh these two guys, it's the same dude essentially. Josh Allen just has 1 interception and Mahomes has none. That's it. So this idea of the head-to-head matchups with the quarterbacks, we got to start abolishing that in the comments or wherever we possibly can, because it's ridiculous and it undermines the real issue, which is Shawn McDermott's defense. Time after time after time again, this dude comes short in the playoffs when it matters the most against good teams in the regular season. He comes up short against the Rams. He comes up short. Like defensively, the Ravens were ready in week 4. Shawn was not. We can't blame that on injuries or any of that stuff. We can't. How can we? The only player we didn't have at that point was we were missing who? We were missing Milano in that game. I don't think Taron Johnson played. But again, Cam Lewis is not a bad player. Realistically, over the last year, maybe 2 years, I would make a strong contention that Cam Lewis is probably close to being Taron Johnson right now in terms of, how he plays the game, how he understands, how he makes his reads and all that kind of stuff. Now, he's not going to be Taron Johnson in name, but how can you argue that? The dude has made plays and he doesn't make huge mistakes. The biggest mistake he made was thinking that he can only catch the ball with 2 hands over Jeff. God, what's the dude's name? The receiver for the Vikings. Like that was his mistake. That's it. Other than that, when have you seen Cam Lewis make a huge mistake? So I don't know, man. I just that head-to-head thing bothers me. No Bone says your kitchen island analogy was spot on. Thank you. I mean, that's what it feels like. Laura says, so Sunday's loss, what do you pin it on the most? Sunday's loss was about lack of creativity. Sunday's loss was about a lack of creativity. One of the things that I've always preached is an offensive-minded head coach or an offensive mind in general, which I identify as. We're very goal-oriented in terms of, or I should say solution-oriented. We're very solution-oriented, right? Because there's a difference between being goal-oriented and solution-oriented. Being goal-oriented is you set your mind on something and you go and you pursue that. Being solution-oriented is you see a problem and your first mindset is to find a way through it, around it, under it, over it, however, right? To get to your goal. So when I think about Shawn McDermott is very goal-oriented. Very, right? And the only thing that he lacks as a head coach right now is creativity or some type of fluidity to the way that he calls games. The way I'll put it like this: McDermott's rigidity is a detriment to himself, right? It's the same as a child growing up stubborn. The parent knows, like, you just gonna continue to deal with issues if you can't learn to stop being stubborn, and I feel bad for you. Eventually the parent just gets to the point like, all right, I can't argue with him no more. I can't. And Shawn is the same way. I think I've been at a point where I realize, like, there's nobody that can reason with Shawn. There's nobody that can prove to him that what he's done to this point as a head coach is not working, because he continues to see the ticket sales. He continues to see the fans in the stands. He continues to see everybody cheering the team on, right? And I'm not saying that it's going to take, bags on heads or any of that stuff to get the message across, but the second we start booing things a little bit more, something as simple as that, we start booing things a little bit more to publicly, on camera, while the game is going nationally, a Monday night game or something like that. Shawn gives makes a stupid decision, decides to, not try for the score before the half with 1:30 left. We should be booing that. We can. It's free. You don't even have to sacrifice not going to the game. You can still go to the game. You can cheer for the good parts. But what I'm looking for is just boo the bad parts. Just equal treatment across the board. Just do it like that. That to me is not asking a lot. It's not hard. But yeah, so Laura, to answer your question, Sunday's loss, lack of creativity. You can't figure out that the tush push doesn't work, after the first 2 times you try it and it don't work. And then you get to, I think it was the third time that they tried it where Josh had to leap over so here's the other thing I found out about the tush push too. Part of the reason that teams were adopting the tush push is because they thought that the act itself was dominant. And in fact, the act itself is not dominant. What's dominant is the way the Philadelphia Eagles do it. The Eagles with Jalen Hurts, because of his lack of height, he's able to slide under the defenders and get an extra push because of the strength in his legs, because of the way that the offensive players behind him can get more leverage by pushing him at that low level. The tush push is about leverage. And if the Bills truly understood that, there would be a little bit more of a resistance to the tush push, because Josh Allen at his size is not going to get leverage. He'll give you length, and that's what the Bills have been betting on. Oh, it's only a yard. Josh Allen could just lean forward to get that until you get scouted by the Chiefs. So, lack of creativity. Sal says, I pinned it on Chiefs Devil Magic. He sent me that post earlier today. Actually, speaking of posts, I don't know if you guys have seen this on Twitter. ML Football posted this, and nope, I just lost it. All right, I think I took a photo of it. Pull it up real quick. So the line judge, Patrick Holt, who made the awful call on Josh Allen being short on 4th down in the Bills-Chiefs game, has posted that he is a Baltimore Ravens fan and has family in Kansas City. Let's just pause on that for a minute. If you think that there aren't things going on behind the scenes, I've already told you about marketing, so you know about that now. The referee teams that get put together in the playoffs are a collection of referees from other teams. So that was part of the flaw of getting so excited over Clete Blakeman being the head ref. And I fell for it too. I was already, overly confident in hindsight. And that was one of the reasons that contributed to me being, overly confident in hindsight. And I think, I'll definitely know better, going forward than to expect things to be, even. But I did hear Dan Orlovsky make a great point about the referees. And I do subscribe to this. I believe in it wholeheartedly. In order to get past a team like the Patriots in their heyday, a team like the Chiefs in their current state, you have to put together a team that can dominate them. And it can't just be, it can't just be, and I actually love that Mac brought this up yesterday when I asked this question about taking the Eagles team and bringing it over here to Buffalo and keeping Josh as the quarterback, and then Mac adding in keeping Shawn as the head coach. It's not just about having elite players. You need the head coach to evolve too. You need the head coach to see. This is one of the things that a lot of people don't realize about Andy Reid. In Philly, Andy Reid was not like this. This is a different Andy Reid. This is an Andy Reid that has now mastered the art of in-game decision making. That was his problem before. He was always an elite play caller. He was always an elite, offensive mind. But what changed for him was his game management skills. Those went through the roof. And realistically, that had nothing to do with the personnel that he had, because this man took Alex Smith and that Chiefs team with, a young Chris Kelsey, a young Tyreek Hill, and them boys. He took them to 10-6 in the playoffs. So it's it's got to be a combination of both. When we're talking about the type of team that you need to put together in order to slam a Chiefs in their heyday, to slam a Patriots in their heyday, right? That's what you need. You need a combination of both. So if you're going to put together that team, you got to make sure you got the staff to get it done too. Thomas says we need more. Thank you, man. He says we need more likes on the video. I appreciate that. Sal says Shawn wants a team of churchgoers. It's the NFL need motorcycle members, right? Yeah, you need some biker boys, man. You got to get it done. You got to find a way. You know, I do need to make a correction to myself. I thought that, you know, based on what I had seen in interviews for Keon Coleman, that you know he might be on a Stephon Diggs type trajectory as far as his personality, but after talking to Coach D, I think I you know he kind of made it clear, like, you know, even though Keon keeps it real and he says whatever's on his mind, he doesn't have a track record in the locker room or on any of the team of being like a super outspoken guy. You know what I'm saying? Or a guy that would, you know, buck authority or speak against it in any way. So, you know, I listen, I would take the problems that the Bills of the 90s had in terms of being the bickering Bills. If it meant that we made Super Bowls as consistently as they did, I would take the problems of the Philadelphia Eagles if it meant that I made 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. I don't need the love. I need the wins when it counts. I need the Super Bowl appearances. That's what I need. Listen, we would be having a very different conversation right now if Shawn McDermott was making the Super Bowl the last 5 years and not winning. Like, yeah, we'd be sitting here saying, like, you got to get it done, but that would be way easier for me to say, man, get a man another year. Give him another year. How can that, to me, is undeniable. The regular season wins and the playoff wins that get you to an AFC championship, like, that's cute. That's cute. But it's a different level when you can consistently win AFC championship games and get to a Super Bowl. That's why Marv Levy will still to this day, even though, you know, Shawn is on a trajectory to be the most winningest head coach in Bills history. That's why Marv, in my mind, will still be the best, because that dude got to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row. He didn't just compete for one; he got to one, right? 4 times. So, Joe says, he's talking to Laura. He said, I'd say coaching tendencies, right? He says the Chiefs are experts at breaking down tendencies, while Bill staff are expert at following their tendencies, right? Right. I did love that point when you said it. He said, i.e., contentious tush pushing, not when not working. It's just like that series of words, contentious tush pushing. It's funny. Billy D says, everything else is shit. What do you mean? Everything else? Okay. And I know I'm way behind. I'm trying to catch up here. I apologize. Let's go down here. So, question on Cooper. Both wide receivers traded at the deadline didn't have much impact at all. D-Hop and Coop. Do we take Coop's stats with a grain of salt when considering re-signing him? Wide receivers seem to adjust slower. No, it's actually just Coop. One of the theories that I've always had on Coop, and I did say this on the show, I think twice. When you look at the numbers, Coop has an instant boost when he gets onto a team because the playbook is typically simplified for him. And I think the same thing happened for Rasul Douglas. Honestly, when a team brings you on and they expect you to come in and make an impact, one of the things they're not going to do is throw the entire book at you and say, learn this before you get on the field. However, this season, and with Shawn McDermott, who is very much one of those coaches that will throw you the whole playbook and say, learn it before you get on the field, I think that's what Cooper had to contend with. Now, I also think Cooper's past his prime. He came into the NFL at 20 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been a minute for him, right? So his curve is going to be ahead of most wide receivers that come into the league later than him and can play into their early 30s. Watching Kupp on the field, I don't think he's got it anymore. I would not resign him. As far as D Hop, he's about to get a ring this year, and he'll probably walk away in the sunset and be content with it, because that was the only thing left for him. The dude he's already a name. He's already put together Hall of Fame numbers. He gets a ring, I'm confident he'll just be out if he doesn't come back to the Chiefs for another shot at it. But it depends on how much money he's going to want. Let me see. No super promo, not Belichick. Have we not learned? I don't know. Let's see what he does with North Carolina. There are some things about Bill that seem to have shifted. He's earned a lot of respect around the media circles for how he was on that show, and now he's got another coaching job in college. Let's see how he does. Maybe he's turned the corner. Maybe he'll be willing to work with a GM or something like that, where he can just focus on controlling the defense and hiring an offensive coordinator that can do what he needs to do. So Belichick can fix our defense ASAP. He's the only living coach that can go head to head with Andy Reid. The two times that Andy Reid has met Bill Belichick in the playoffs, he's lost. If you think about it, he's never beaten Bill in the playoffs. He didn't beat him in the Super Bowl when he was with the Eagles, and the Patriots beat the Patriots. I'm sorry, the Patriots beat the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. And the Patriots at the time were the away team, and they won that game. So, if we're going based on Belichick's history, yeah, there's reason to believe that he could be a lot more competitive against Andy Reid. I certainly agree with you there. I just don't know if I would say that he can go head to head with him with just anybody. You know what I mean? Like that's the part of this that I think we might be overlooking a little bit, because now we're talking about a full defensive overhaul. If Bill is going to run this team and he's going to control the defense and he's going to get his guys, say goodbye to everybody we got on defense. He might keep Ed Oliver to play, outside, defensive end in a 3-4. But even with that, he's 6'1". He's too short. He's too short. So it wouldn't work in my mind. It wouldn't work. John, welcome to the show, my man. I ain't seen you in a minute. He says, I'm not saying you're wrong, but if we do get rid of McDermott, who you get? Well, I did put this in the comments. Somebody asked this earlier, not directly like this, but look, if let's say we were to fire Shawn today, and some of y'all might laugh, but let me explain. I think if you fired Shawn today and you went and brought Leslie Frazier in here, I think we might be talking about something. Think about where the defense has been since Leslie Frazier left. With Leslie Frazier here, we had a top 10 defense every year. Every year. He leaves. We now go down to the bottom, the halfway point, pretty much. With Shawn running the show by himself. When Leslie Frazier was the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, that defense was elite. elite. It was Super Bowl caliber. You know, the only thing he didn't have at that point? A quarterback. He had Tavares Jackson. I can't think of who else they had at that point. Dante Culpepper was already gone. He might have had Brad Johnson, maybe. That might have been before his time too, but he never had a quarterback. You give a guy like that who can coach up a defense like that, Josh Allen as a quarterback, and just let him go pick, a good up and coming coordinator or a good tenure coordinator, whatever. You be really competing in an AFC championship game next season, right? All the guys that you would jump at right now, they all got jobs. The only guy that's available right now that I would want to bring in immediately is Bobby Slowick. That's the one guy. He comes from the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay style of offense. So you already know he knows how to make an offensive system easy for a quarterback. I gotta really do some research to figure out why he got fired. I have no idea why he gets fired. He probably had one of the best excuses of any coach or coordinator in the NFL this year. Like, Diggs gets an ACL and Nico Collins is hurt for half the season, and Tank Dell breaks his leg. What do you want this guy to do with Hutchinson and John Mechie who has no hands, and a very old Robert Woods? What do you want him to do with that? You fire the guy? I think Bobby Slowick's a good coordinator. I think he would make a good coach. I would say Slowick, when he was with Houston, I said this season, Slowick probably needs one more season under his belt before he's ready to be a head coach. So that's why I would just, I would bring him in now. Get him in the building, get him familiar with Josh, get him, you know what I'm saying? And then after that, if we still don't win another one next year and we don't even get to an AFC championship game, goodbye, Shawn. Hello, Bobby. Sweat says defense is a hot mess. Yes, bro. Yes. Yes. And I like Max said yesterday, man, you'd have to literally draft a whole new defense just to fix it in one season. You're not going to have the money to go the free agent route. You're going to have to be very strategic about who you bring in. And Myles Garrett is not going to be an option. I hate to break it to y'all. He's not going to be an option financially. I mean, the Browns owners already said we ain't trading him. It's not happening. They said they will not listen to any offers. By no means will they listen to anything about Myles Garrett. So they probably gonna restructure him or pay him or something like that, and he'll retire a Brown. Sweat says Cam Lewis is a lot better than Elam. You're darn right. You're darn right. Thomas says that's why I don't get the Ryan Clark hate on Josh. Josh is a dog. He definitely covers up coaching blunders. I think Ryan Clark and guys like that are part of. They're part of it, and I hate making this about race, but I do think to some degree there's an agenda with guys that go as hard as he does to criticize Josh or to try and prop up another player or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing. I do think that to a degree, guys like Lamar Jackson, guys like Michael Vick have had to trailblaze in a way that other quarterbacks haven't. They've had to convince owners that they could be franchise quarterbacks. But I don't think Lamar Jackson has gotten that kind of disrespect at all. I mean, the tape shows everything you need to see when it comes to Lamar Jackson playing quarterback. Just put the Louisville tape on. Just put the tape on. And then what are we talking about? Who's disrespecting Lamar Jackson as a quarterback? Who? Like the only issue with him is he's just not winning. Like nobody's hating on the dude. He's just not winning. And when he loses, it looks way worse than when Josh loses. That's the issue. That's the problem. So guys like Ryan Clark get on and they start talking about how Lamar Jackson is disrespected and Josh is praised beyond, what he deserves and all this other stuff that he said before. And look, man, I really think all of that perspective is just interpretation of things that weren't actually said. Or they weren't actually said in a way that could directly be taken as that. And that usually speaks to someone's agenda when they interpret stuff that wasn't necessarily, said in a specific way to be, transliterated that way, because there's translation and there's transliteration. Transliteration is an exact revelation of what was actually said that is now become the same statement in a different language. That's what transliteration is. For those of you English majors, you already knew that. Steve says first game versus Ravens, no Milano, Bernard Johnson, and Ed Oliver on defense. Look, man, my man Joe Sanders said it best. He said the defense performed better against the Chiefs last season in the divisional round with backups. With backups. Better performance with backups. So it's not the injuries. It's not the injuries at all. It never has been. It's an excuse. It's to get everybody who is connected with the team to feel sorry for him so they'll continue to give him a chance. That's all it is. Let me see here. I'll probably go another 20 minutes and then I really do got to get out of here, guys. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. Thomas says, I'm sorry. Nah, I already read that one. Let me see here. B. Smith, what's going on? He says, you guys have a great, solid team and fan base. It comes down to coaching. Spags held on to that last blitz package all year. I'm sure he did, man. Jeez. He said all year and all game to the end. It's the same blitz we blitzed the 49ers in the Super Bowl. Yeah, I saw him talking about that. And that right there, to me, is the difference between these two coaching staffs. See, the Chiefs are not looking at, they're not expecting the Bills to come at them based on the way they think. They already know the way Shawn McDermott and that's right. I'm sorry. Geez, no bones. They're not thinking about the way Dermott goes at film review. Like they're looking at other games. They're not watching Bills games and how do we perform against the Bills. They're looking at what worked against, what worked in crunch time situations against teams better than the Bills. You know what I'm saying? So they looked at, the game against the Texans and they said that this little crosser route by the running back worked against them in on the last game of the play. Let's do it again against the Bills. They're not even focused on the Bills like that. That was one of the reasons why in week 11, when we were talking about that game in the post game, that's why I made sure to bring up, to just kind of put out in the atmosphere, put it out in the ethos in the third quarter when the Chiefs went down and scored right after we scored, and how it looked so effortless and how it looked so finesse. It looked like there was no answer the Bills had whatsoever. And the thing happened like that. That mattered a lot. Because up to that point, it looked like the Chiefs didn't have an answer. But now all of a sudden they got one. But what made it even more interesting is after that, they went back to looking like they didn't have an answer. Why? Then I thought about, I think it was Key that said they just scouting during the regular season. They ain't even really playing. It was either Key or Mac. I certainly didn't say it, but the Chiefs are just scouting during the regular season. And it makes perfect sense now when you look at how the game played out. Yeah, we beat them, but they showed us in the third quarter, and the Bills didn't even pay attention to that. Excuse me, the Bills didn't even pay attention to that. They were so focused on beating the Chiefs at the time they didn't even realize that the Chiefs were playing 3D chess while the Bills are playing checkers. It's an issue, man. It's an issue. It's an issue. I ain't crying. Listen, Z-Bot might be crying. I ain't crying. I don't cry. I get mad. I get mad and I raise my voice. That's the crazy part. Talking to B Smith. He says, LMAO, you believe everything. It's also the Chiefs' fault. You traded with us to draft Mahomes, and also you traded with us to draft Worthy. Yeah, blame yourselves. You lost. I'm interested to hear why you think I'm trying to blame anybody but us. I mean, yeah, maybe you're talking about the referee thing. That might be what you're talking about. At which, look, you can draw whatever conclusion from that you want. The fact still exists. This dude literally put on social media 3 or 4 times, and MF football has the ML football has they posted the posts from this ref. I don't believe in coincidence. It really, the one guy who happens to be marking the Bills short, and it wasn't just the 4th and 1. It was several times. There was like there was a first down run where Cook got the first down and they marked it as a 2nd and 1. Like, he's clearly over the line. They didn't even review it. We didn't even challenge it. There's no such thing as a coincidence when the guy that's consistently marking you short happens to be a fan of a team you beat the previous week. Just saying, man. Just saying. And again, to be clear, I'm not saying that's why we lost. We lost because of the coaches, our coaches. we didn't lose because of the refs. You get what I'm saying? So I will always say we put ourselves in that position. We put ourselves in a position to be dependent on refs making great calls for us in our favor. That wasn't where we were supposed to be. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the Bills, the Bills were talking about they were talking about that specific point. We just can't put ourselves in a position to rely on refs. Like, we got to go out there and win the game. You didn't do that. You didn't do that. Let's see here. I'm gonna start getting a little bit further down so I can catch up with you guys. So, Sunny Son Brian, what's going on? He says Hamlin gotta go. AJ also along with Miller. Go get a pure run stuffer and young DEs in the draft. Bro, you preach into the choir. Let me hold that back up there. Hamlin, you're too slow, bro. You're too slow. You take bad angles against the run, and you don't read the passing game well enough. You're out of position on deep plays too often. That play in the Ravens game that went way over your head, that you were supposed to not let that receiver get past you. That was your responsibility. Could have been a blowout had you not given that up. Maybe. We don't know. We'll never know. We'll never know, man. AJ, yeah. I had hope for it. I had hope for him. I really did. He was one of those players I wanted to re-sign because in the little sample size that we were getting from him, he was popping, but the only reason I wanted to give him a chance at that point was because I was saying to myself, the only thing we haven't seen from Epinesa is real playing time. And if this is what he's doing with just a limited amount of playing time, let's at least, we didn't have any other options at that point. We were waiting for Von Miller to come back. Why not let Epinesa play? So give him some more playing time. Let's see what we can get out of him. It's only a 2-year deal. So if you play him 1 year and get rid of him, it's not really that huge of a dead cap hit. It's kind of a win-win in a sense, but we got our answer. It's not him. Miller, the dead cap is too big. it's too big. My man 40 Keys posted earlier today. It's probably more worth it if Von Miller stays on as a coach to coach Solomon and forgot who the other pass rusher is, but I think for the next year at least, right? Because his contract doesn't get friendly until 2026. It doesn't get friendly until 20. And when I say friendly, I mean the dead cap hit. You can go look it up. Spags versus Brady wasn't fair. Well, I don't want to. It's hard, man. It's hard. It's hard because this is not who Brady is. And Brady really realistically hasn't had a real chance in the NFL to be himself. He did in college, and we saw what that looked like. But he was under Matt Rule in Carolina. That was his only other offensive coordinator job in the league besides this one. So he was up under two coaches that wanted to play efficient football. They wanted to play old school football. He never had honestly, he never had a chance from jump. He was a young coordinator who came from college, who had a hot name, and these head coaches that were already in the NFL felt like they can take him, put him under their wing, and say, "This is what you're gonna do here, little buddy. This is how you gonna run my offense for me. This is how you gonna, you know what I'm saying? Like that's really what it turned into for Joe Brady, and I feel for him, man. Because this is what it looks like now. This is on his resume. Him getting spanked by Spags. This is what people are saying. Spags versus Brady wasn't fair. This is what people are saying now because Shawn has put Brady in a box. Sunny Sun says, find the gems in the draft, build through the draft, build through the draft, build through the draft. My man, we ain't got no choice this season. We ain't got no choice. We're not going to have enough money. Even with restructuring Josh is set to get a $60 million cap hit this season, this next season. 60 mil. He's at 48 right now. Right? So they're going to try to restructure him. And unless they give him a whole new deal or an extension or something like that, and even then, with where quarterback salaries are now, it's still probably going to be right around 60 million. And I think he's earned it. So give him his money. But that 60 million also, that's we ran the numbers, right? And when you look at what was spent on offense and defense, it's about equal. It's 100 million on offense and 100 million on defense. But of that offensive budget this year of 100 million, 48 of that is all Josh. The rest of that is all the other offensive players you see. That's why all of them are young. All of them are kind of up and coming or old and past their prime and don't cost that much. That's why. But what that really speaks to is what? All the money's on defense. You spending $100 million total for all the players that you have on defense. $100 million for all of them. And I think Von Miller is the biggest cap hit at about somewhere between 18 and 23 million, something like that. But 18 to 23 million compared to the 48 that Josh takes on offense, your defense should be playing a lot better for $100 million. Just saying. Sal says Pagula wanted Mahomes. McDermott said no. Yeah, that did happen. Although I think now we have enough information to say Mahomes is probably going to end up the same as Josh if he came here instead of Josh. I'm waiting for somebody to make a good argument against that thought. I don't think you can. When you look at the coaching deficiencies, listen, Mahomes coming into the league was probably slightly more refined than Josh in terms of his mechanics, but his style of play was just as wild as Josh. Go back and watch the tape. Just as much of a cult as Josh was. Just as much. Thomas says, did you see Elam get cooked by a choo-choo? That man has got to go, bro. Like, Elam tripped all the way up to the damn field from the line of scrimmage. Yeah, man. Yeah. But it's tough because I watched Elam on tape, and I in college I liked him. I actually liked the draft pick. The only thing I didn't like was the expectation for him to come in and completely change the way that he plays the game. When you draft a guy in the first round, first and foremost, that guy is expected to come in and contribute, not come in and sit a year, especially not at corner, right? But then you take a guy who is a press man cover corner, and you say, "Nah, we're zone only." I mean, I don't know how much zone you've done, brother, but this is what we're gonna do here. So get in where you fit in. How can you expect these guys to succeed in situations that they're not designed to? You know what I mean? It's just the diametric opposition of it, but you still expect the same result. It's nonsense. Leak says, looks like Bean and company want Von back next year. We're about to have a 36-year-old at edge rusher next year. Finesse us big time. That's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, I can't say nothing else. He finessed us big time. That's right. That's right. D-Jax, what's going on? Says he might take a discount to keep players here. Yeah, that's something that Josh would do. I don't want him to be honest. I want him to make it hard on this coaching staff and this front office, because the revealing of the real issues needs to take place, and it can't happen as long as people on the outside keep making concessions for them. It's the same as having a brother or a sister or a cousin or something like that loves calling you to borrow money. Anytime they get in the jam, they call you up. Hey, can I get $20? I just need to catch the bus real quick. Eventually you get to the point where it's like, dude, you got to keep a job, man. Budget your money better. Set some aside for these times where you're going to need $20. You can't keep covering for people forever, right? So that's why I hope you don't, take a discount. Leak says, gotta wonder if Josh may reconsider taking the extension if the plan is to keep it. So yeah. Josh did not look happy at all after the game, at all, and some of the looks. And 40 keys to tell you, I sent him a text message, a snapshot of one of the videos of Shawn McDermott going up to slap up, Josh. I think this might have been after the Chiefs game too. He went to go slap up Josh to kind of like, and came in and as soon as Shawn went in with the shoulder, you could see the look on Josh's face of just very like, yeah, all right, whatever, dude. Like you never slap up anybody, but you gonna come here and try to give me that now? Like that's what we doing? You giving that now? That ain't you, Shawn. You don't even let offensive linemen wear Timberland boots. I'm sorry. You don't let offensive linemen wear Jordans. Tyler Dunn report, go look it up. Jordans are not for football players. Real men wear Carhartts. That's what he said. That's what your head coach said to the offensive lineman. Go look it up. Real players, real men don't wear Jordans. Real men wear Carhartts. So, 7:29, and look, I don't have my music here at the house with me, so let me just say this: I really appreciate everybody that tuned in. I'm hoping that we got a little bit more of Sunday out of our system. Just hanging out here talking. My goal for, here on going through the off season is to, try and come up with some answers on options and things that we can, try to do and work out and hope for, or, maybe even put some pressure on the staff to try, but that's my mindset. And I encourage everybody who's still going through the grieving process to become solution oriented and try to just work through, this off season in that way. You know what I mean? I think it's the more productive way, and I think it's the fastest way to get us to where we really want to be. D-Jax, first time listener, no subscribe button. There should be. There should be. I mean, I'm going through StreamYard, but it's connected to our YouTube and our Twitter. So there should be. I apologize if there's not. There's usually been a subscribe button. Okay, yeah, Mark says it's there. So yeah, D-Jax, I appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you again live on Friday, 6 p.m. So yeah, all right. 7:30. Listen, I love all of y'all. Thank y'all for showing up. Thank y'all for hanging out. Right, Laura. I had to bring this up because man, I love Jays, man. I love Jays. I heard that. I was like, what? No, man, I can't. No, he didn't say that. He didn't. And then I read it again. I'm like, oh, I can't. That was Sean. I can't. So yeah. I'll read this last one and then we got to get out of here. Thomas says, sometimes in life we have to reinvent ourselves. With that being said, he's had a few seasons and off seasons to adjust and reinvent. There just doesn't seem to be a bunch of progress made. Yeah. That is it. That is the narrative on Shawn McDermott. So, all right, folks. Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live. We will be in studio. See y'all when I get there. Peace.